Human hired as alien princesses pretend husband. But then it gets complicated. Alien merchants shouted from market stalls, offering goods that glowed, sparkled, or even floated in the air. The smells of roasted proteins, strange spices, and ozone mixed into a dizzying scent that made Jace's stomach rumble. He adjusted the strap of his worn leather bag and sighed. Jobs for humans were rare in Orion Hub. Most species preferred their own kind. But humans had something unique: adaptability, quick thinking, clever solutions, and a certain stubborn charm. Unfortunately, Jace hadn't found a chance to show it in months. "Another dead-end interview?" a voice called. Jace looked up to see Kira, a fellow human, leaning against a glowing wall panel. She had a bright smile but the same tired eyes as him. "Yep," Jace muttered. "They don't even know what to do with us. Humans are rare but somehow not wanted." Kira shrugged. "Keep looking, something will turn up, you always manage." Jace tried to smile, but he knew she was right. His luck had run dry. He had barely enough credits to pay his lodgings for another week. Just as he turned a corner, a sleek black hovercar stopped beside him. A holographic logo shimmered above it, a stylized crown and the letters Andari Dominion. A voice spoke from the car. "Jace Arlen?" He blinked. Yes. Step inside," the voice said, polite but firm. Curious and cautious, Jace approached. The car's door slid open silently, and he stepped into a small, elegant chamber. The walls were smooth, pearlescent, and shimmered faintly under his feet. A holographic figure appeared, a tall, imposing alien with elongated limbs and a soft, golden glow. "I am Advisor Selen of the Andari Royal House. We have a proposal for you, human." Jace raised an eyebrow. "A proposal for me? I think you have the wrong human." Selen's eyes glimmered. "We have the right human. You are known for your quick thinking, adaptability, and charm. We require someone to act as the husband of Princess Lyra for a diplomatic assignment. It will be temporary and discreet. Are you interested?" Jace froze. "Pretend husband?" "Yes," Selen said simply. "The princess requires an outward partner to maintain appearances during the upcoming summit of allied systems. Your presence will stabilize her image and influence critical negotiations. The compensation will be generous." Jace's mind raced. He had expected odd jobs, maybe courier work, even spaceship cleaning. But this? "You're offering me what credits, privileges, and high-level alien attention?" Selen nodded. "You will be well cared for, and your status will rise among all species. Consider it an opportunity to prove human capabilities." Jace hesitated. This was insane. He barely knew anything about alien politics, let alone how to act as a husband to a princess of a powerful species. But the promise of a high-pay adventure and a chance to leave Orion Hub behind was tempting. "Okay," Jace said finally. "I'll do it, for a trial period at least." Selen's hologram shimmered. "Excellent. The princess awaits your arrival at the Andari Royal Palace. Transport will arrive immediately." Before Jace could even ask a question, the car's interior blurred, and he felt himself lifted and pulled through space. A moment later, he was standing in the vast docking bay of a palace ship orbiting a jewel-like planet. The Andari Royal Palace loomed above him, towers spiraling into the sky, glowing faintly with alien symbols. The door behind him opened, and two tall guards with translucent skin and soft golden eyes approached. They gestured him forward. "Human, follow us." "Princess Lyra expects you." Jace swallowed hard. He had seen kings and queens on holovids, but standing before one in real life, that was entirely different. The corridor was enormous, lined with smooth crystal walls that reflected his nervous face. Finally, they reached a wide chamber, and there she was, Princess Lyra. She stood tall, elegant, with deep violet skin and silver hair that floated slightly as if in water. Her eyes glimmered like twin stars, sharp and intelligent. She wore a flowing robe with intricate patterns that seemed to shift as she moved. "You must be Jace Arlen," she said, her voice melodic but firm. "The human hired to pretend to be my husband." Jace swallowed. "Why, yes, princess, it's an honor." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. "I hope you understand that this is not a game. The summit is in 3 days. Your performance could affect the future of our people." I understand," Jace stammered. She smiled faintly, almost amused. "Good, then let us begin your training." Over the next hour, Lyra guided Jace through the basics of Andari etiquette. How to bow, how to speak formal greetings, and how to navigate the palace's subtle power dynamics. Jace was clumsy, bumping into pillars and mispronouncing phrases, but Lyra's patience was firm yet not cruel. "You humans are interesting," Lyra said at one point. "Your gestures are so simple yet effective. Perhaps your species can teach us something about straightforwardness." Jace grinned nervously. "I'll take that as a compliment." Lyra raised an eyebrow, her expression teasing. "It is, but remember, appearances matter. Every gesture, every word will be watched." As the evening wore on, Jace found himself exploring the palace corridors. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing maps of the planet below and the vast space around them. He marveled at the palace's gardens, floating spheres of light, exotic plants that changed color with the music of the wind, and fountains that seemed to defy gravity. But not everything was beautiful. He noticed subtle tensions, guards whispering to each other, advisors giving wary glances, and small symbols of warning carved discreetly into the walls. Something was not right, though he could not yet put his finger on it. Later, during dinner, Jace met the royal advisors. They were cautious, polite, but cold. One commented on the human tendency for improvisation. "We hope your improvisation does not disrupt protocol, human," he said, his eyes glinting sharply. Jace nodded, trying to smile. "I'll follow your rules." Lyra leaned slightly toward him. "Rules are fine, but if danger comes, you must also be ready to think beyond them." Jace's heart raced. He had expected challenges, but the palace's elegance hid a subtle threat, political intrigue that he didn't yet understand. And somehow he had to survive 3 days, impress the princess, and avoid making mistakes that could end in disaster. That night, he lay on a soft bed in a room that overlooked the glowing city below. The lights of the palace reflected in the surface of the nearby water, creating a magical scene. He thought about his life on Orion Hub, about the dead-end jobs, and how everything had led him to this moment. He had agreed to pretend to be someone he wasn't, but deep down, he knew humans had something special: adaptability, courage, and creativity. He had no idea how far those qualities would be tested. Meanwhile, in her chambers, Lyra watched the city from her window. She thought about the upcoming summit and the human who had just entered her life. Something about him was different, unpredictable, alive, and surprisingly clever. She was used to aliens who followed protocol, who acted according to centuries of tradition. This human was a wild card. Lyra smiled faintly. "This could get interesting," she whispered. The next morning began with Jace's first public appearance. He followed Lyra through the palace's ceremonial halls, greeted officials from dozens of alien species, and stumbled a few times but managed to recover with humor and charm. He noticed how Lyra moved, graceful, confident, aware of every eye upon her. He tried to imitate her poise but often fell short. She caught his hands once to steady him, and for a brief moment he felt a spark, a mixture of fear, excitement, and admiration. By the end of the day, Jace realized this job was more than just acting. It required courage, intelligence, and social skill, and maybe, just maybe, he was beginning to enjoy it. Later, in a quiet moment in the palace garden, Lyra approached him. "You did well today, human," she said softly. "Better than I expected." Jace rubbed the back of his neck. "Thanks, princess. I guess humans can surprise people." Lyra's eyes glimmered with amusement. "Yes, sometimes." For the first time, Jace felt that he was not just a pawn in a political game. He felt useful. And that feeling, unfamiliar and exhilarating, made him eager for what came next. Little did he know, the real challenges were just beginning. Intrigue, danger, and unexpected emotions awaited him. Pretending to be a husband was only the first step in a journey that would test not just his skills, but his heart. And as the twin moons rose over the palace, Jace stared out the window and whispered to himself, "I hope I don't mess this up." But somehow I think humans were meant for this kind of adventure. The next morning, Jace awoke to the soft glow of the palace's floating lanterns. Outside his window, the alien city shimmered like a field of stars. He rubbed his eyes, feeling a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Today was the day Lyra would begin his official training, and he had no idea how challenging it would be. A gentle chime echoed in his room, signaling a message. A hovering tray delivered a simple note: "Meet me in the Hall of Mirrors." Lyra, Jace swallowed hard. The Hall of Mirrors was infamous in palace lore, a place where the walls reflected more than just appearances. It exposed truth and deception alike. He took a deep breath and stepped into the corridor, feeling the soft hum of the palace underfoot. Lyra waited at the far end. She was standing in the center, her silver hair catching the morning light, her violet eyes sharp as always. Around her, the hall stretched infinitely, mirrors reflecting endless copies of them. "Good morning, Jace," she said, her tone unreadable. "Today you will learn how to move, speak, and act like a proper consort. Fail, and you embarrass not just yourself, but me and the Dominion." Jace nodded. "I won't embarrass you," Lyra smiled faintly. "We shall see." The first lesson was movement. Jace stumbled as he attempted to glide across the hall gracefully. Each step was exaggerated, his arms flailing slightly. Lyra corrected him gently but firmly. "No, Jace, humans move too loosely. Your body must express control and confidence." "Watch me." She walked across the hall, each movement perfectly balanced, like water flowing over stones. Jace tried again, this time focusing on his posture, his pace, and his gestures. Mirrors reflected his progress and failures. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but he persisted. By the end of the morning, he could move without looking awkward, though he was still far from graceful. Next was etiquette. Lyra demonstrated the proper way to greet foreign dignitaries, the tilt of the head, the placement of the hands, the subtle nuances of tone. Jace repeated the movements, his human instincts occasionally interfering. "Your head is too low," Lyra said, raising an eyebrow. "It suggests submission, not respect. Remember, confidence. Humans have an advantage here. Use it, do not hide it." Jace blinked. "Use it, don't hide it, got it." As they practiced, Lyra tested him with unexpected questions. "If an ambassador insults you publicly, what would you do?" "Smile and stay calm," Jace said instinctively. "Then find a way to turn it in our favor." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "Not bad. Humans do have clever minds. Keep that thought. It may save your life one day." After hours of training, they paused for lunch in the palace gardens. Floating plants and glowing fountains surrounded them. The air smelled of exotic spices and sweet blossoms. "You're taking this seriously," Lyra observed, watching Jace carefully. "Most consorts would have given up after the first few hours." "I have to," Jace replied. "If I fail, it's not just a bad day, it could cause serious problems for you." Lyra tilted her head, considering him. "You worry too much, but I like that you care. It is rare among humans." The afternoon brought a new challenge, learning the basics of diplomacy. Lyra introduced Jace to her holographic advisors, each representing a different alien system. They asked questions, tested his knowledge, and challenged his reactions. Jace felt out of place at first, but his adaptability shone through. He answered carefully, sometimes humorously, earning cautious smiles from the advisors. "You are unusual," one said. "Most humans I've met are impulsive. You think before you act, valuable trait," Jace shrugged. "I've learned the hard way that quick thinking and calm heads go a long way." Lyra smiled approvingly. "Exactly, remember this. The summit will be filled with creatures far more experienced than you. They will watch, judge, and test every word and movement. You must be prepared." As the sun began to set over the glowing city below, Lyra brought Jace to a small training arena. The walls shimmered with holographic targets, defensive obstacles, and floating platforms. "Physical readiness," she said. "Even a consort may face danger. You will learn to move, dodge, and think fast." "Ready?" Jace nodded, adrenaline surging. He had trained in basic combat on Orion Hub, but this was entirely different. Lyra demonstrated fluid movements, dodging lasers and levitating obstacles with grace. Jace tried to imitate her. He tripped, rolled, jumped, and sometimes landed on the wrong platform. Yet each time he adjusted, learning from his mistakes. "Humans are stubborn," Lyra observed. "I like that, it may save you someday." Hours passed, and exhaustion set in. Jace's muscles ached, his mind was tired, but he couldn't stop. He wanted to prove himself. And somewhere deep down, he also wanted to impress Lyra, not just as a consort, but as a person. As they left the arena, Lyra's expression turned serious. "There is more than training ahead. Some within this palace do not wish well for the Dominion. Rival factions see the summit as an opportunity to gain advantage. They may test you, human, in ways you cannot anticipate." Jace frowned. "Test me? How?" Lyra looked at him steadily. "They may create traps, rumors, or even manipulate events to see if I can be controlled through you. You must be clever, alert, and brave. Pretending to be a husband is one thing, surviving palace politics is another." Jace swallowed. "I think I can handle it." Lyra gave him a faint smile. "Good. Confidence is useful, but never underestimate danger even when it seems small." The night brought a moment of quiet reflection. Jace sat by the palace window, watching ships drift in orbit around the jewel-like planet. The stars shimmered, and he realized how small he felt in the vastness of the galaxy. Yet strangely, he also felt powerful. Humans had a gift for turning impossible situations into opportunities. Suddenly, Lyra's voice interrupted his thoughts. "You think too much, human." He turned. She had appeared quietly, standing beside him. "I'm thinking about tomorrow," he admitted, "and the summit, and all the things that could go wrong." Lyra laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes. "That is natural. But remember, sometimes the best strategy is not to overthink, but to act with courage and trust your instincts. You humans do that well," Jace smiled. "I hope my instincts are enough." Lyra's eyes softened for a brief moment. "They may be, but remember, you are not alone. I will guide you, but you must also guide me in ways I cannot predict." The next day, training continued with simulations of the summit itself. Holographic dignitaries, intricate discussions, and unexpected interruptions tested Jace's ability to adapt. He stumbled at first, but gradually his human ingenuity became apparent. He solved problems that no advisor anticipated, finding solutions that were simple, clever, and unexpected. Lyra watched with growing admiration. "You may just survive this," she whispered, almost to herself. By the end of the day, Jace's confidence had grown. He realized that while the palace, the summit, and the political intrigues were complex, humans had strengths that aliens sometimes underestimated. Creativity, adaptability, and courage. These traits could turn the tide even in the most challenging situations. As he returned to his quarters, Jace felt exhausted but alive. For the first time in months, he felt useful, respected, and even excited. The job he thought would be impossible was slowly becoming a challenge he could meet. And somewhere in the palace, Lyra observed him from a distance, noting the small but significant ways he adapted, learned, and survived. She felt a strange pull, an interest in this human that went beyond politics, beyond training, beyond appearances. The palace lights dimmed, and the city below glowed like a constellation. Jace sat by the window once more, taking a deep breath. He whispered to himself, "I can do this, I have to, and somehow I think I want to." Little did he know the upcoming summit would test not just his skills, but his heart, courage, and the very way he viewed the galaxy. Pretending to be a husband was only the beginning. Tomorrow, the real challenges would begin. The day of the interstellar summit arrived with a sense of grandeur that left Jace both awestruck and nervous. The neutral space station where the event was held floated above a gas giant, its massive structure gleaming like a jewel in the blackness of space. Ships from dozens of species glided into docking bays, each more elaborate than the last. Jace adjusted his formal attire, a tailored uniform designed to complement Princess Lyra's ceremonial robes. The fabric was light but elegant, shimmering faintly under the station's artificial lights. He took a deep breath. Today, his role as Lyra's pretend husband would be put to the ultimate test. Lyra appeared beside him, regal and composed. "Remember," she said softly, "every gesture matters, every word counts. You are not just a human here, you are a symbol of the Dominion's stability." Jace swallowed. "I won't mess it up." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "We shall see." As they entered the summit hall, Jace was immediately struck by the diversity of species present. Some floated on anti-gravity fields, others had multiple limbs or luminescent skin. The air buzzed with conversations in dozens of languages, translated seamlessly by devices embedded in the hall. He could feel the weight of dozens of eyes on him, judging his every movement. But he reminded himself, humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of thinking quickly under pressure. He had survived training, palace intrigue, and alien etiquette lessons. He could handle this. The opening ceremony began with the ceremonial lighting of the central crystal, symbolizing unity among the allied systems. Jace and Lyra walked side by side, their steps synchronized, their expressions confident. The hall erupted in polite applause. Jace was relieved to see that he was, for now, meeting expectations. The summit itself was a delicate dance of diplomacy. Alien delegates spoke in measured tones, negotiating trade agreements, defense pacts, and scientific collaborations. Jace's role was largely symbolic. He held Lyra's arm, nodded appropriately, and smiled when necessary. But he quickly realized that the human skill of observation could be invaluable. He noticed small details others missed. a delegate's subtle shift of stance indicating unease, a whisper between two advisors that hinted at a hidden alliance, a holographic tablet left carelessly showing sensitive information. During a brief pause in discussions, Jace leaned slightly toward Lyra. "There's something odd with the Sarvani delegation," he whispered. "They're whispering more than usual, and their lead ambassador keeps glancing at that tablet." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Good observation. Humans notice what many of us overlook. We'll keep an eye on them." The summit continued smoothly until midway through the afternoon. Suddenly, alarms rang throughout the hall. A holographic display showed a containment breach in the station's energy core. Panic rippled through the delegates. The summit was in jeopardy. Jace's heart pounded. "What do we do?" he asked, instinctively moving toward Lyra. She placed a hand on his arm. "Stay calm, follow me." Lyra led him through the hall to a control chamber. The room was filled with consoles, each displaying intricate systems and energy flows. A series of red alerts flashed across the screens. Jace quickly assessed the situation. While he did not fully understand the alien technology, he could recognize patterns and make logical connections. "The containment breach is targeting the energy distribution to the central core," he said. "If it continues, the station could collapse. But if we reroute power through these auxiliary conduits here," he pointed to a cluster of panels, "we can stabilize it temporarily." Lyra glanced at him, impressed. "You humans really think quickly, do it." Jace worked swiftly, following instinct and deduction. His fingers danced over the alien interfaces, rerouting power, sealing compartments, and stabilizing the core. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he did not falter. Minutes later, the alarm ceased. The containment breach had been contained. Delegates looked on in amazement, their earlier panic replaced with awe. Lyra's eyes met Jace's. "Remarkable," she said softly. "You saved the summit." A murmur spread through the hall. Delegates approached cautiously, praising the humans' cleverness and bravery. Jace felt a mixture of pride and relief. Humans were not only adaptable, they could act decisively in the face of unknown technology and danger. But the crisis was not yet over. Lyra's advisors approached her in hushed tones. "Your Highness," one said, "the breach was not accidental. Sensors indicate external interference." Lyra's eyes hardened. "Someone tried to sabotage the summit. We must uncover who." Jace's mind raced. "Could it be the Sarvani delegation I mentioned earlier?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "Perhaps. You noticed their behavior before the incident. You may have just saved not only the summit, but also valuable intelligence. Keep observing, human." The rest of the day involved delicate diplomacy and cautious monitoring. Jace stayed close to Lyra, maintaining appearances while discreetly observing patterns among the delegates. He noticed subtle hand signals, whispered conversations, and glances toward sensitive areas of the station. Later, during a private discussion, Lyra turned to him. "You understand more than most consorts would. Your instincts and quick thinking have proven invaluable." Jace shrugged. "I just look at what's happening and figure out the most logical step. Humans have to be ready for anything." Lyra's expression softened. "Yes, that is why humans are fascinating. You are different, unpredictable, and effective." Jace felt a warmth he had never expected. He was still pretending to be her husband, yet in moments like this, it felt as though he mattered, not just as a symbol, but as a person. The night brought another challenge. As the delegates retired, a hidden alarm alerted Lyra and Jace to a cloaked intruder near the station's private quarters. Someone had attempted to gain access to confidential summit data. "Stay behind me," Lyra instructed, drawing a small energy staff. Jace nodded, moving cautiously. The intruder was quick, cloaked, and armed with advanced weapons. Jace assessed the environment, walls, shadows, and floating panels, and realized he could use the intruder's momentum against them. When the intruder lunged, Jace sidestepped, tripping a floating panel that knocked the intruder off balance. Lyra seized the opportunity, disarming the intruder with a precise strike. Together, they restrained the saboteur. Lyra studied him closely. "You think fast, you adapt, you saved both of us," Jace exhaled. "I guess humans were made for this kind of chaos," she smiled faintly. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated humans for too long." The next morning, the summit resumed, this time under heightened security. Delegates approached Jace with cautious respect. Humans were rare, and a human capable of quick thinking and bravery was rarer still. His reputation quietly spread. Throughout the day, Lyra and Jace navigated meetings, ceremonies, and delicate negotiations. Jace's ability to anticipate problems and offer solutions impressed not only Lyra, but also the alien dignitaries. Where others relied solely on protocol, he relied on creativity, reasoning, and courage, traits that humans possessed in abundance. During a quiet moment, Lyra leaned toward him. "You handled yourself well, human. Today you were not just a consort, you were a partner." Jace smiled, heart racing. "I'm starting to enjoy it. This pretending job is becoming real in a way I didn't expect." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Be careful, the line between act and reality can blur. You may find yourself in ways you do not anticipate." Jace chuckled nervously. "I'll try not to cross it too soon." As the summit drew to a close, the lead delegates praised the Dominion for handling the sabotage and for maintaining order. Lyra's poise and Jace's quick thinking had turned a potential disaster into a display of competence and diplomacy. When the event ended, the two returned to the palace aboard their sleek vessel. Jace leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. "I can't believe that happened," he said. "We just stopped a sabotage and kept a galaxy-level summit on track, all in one day." Lyra laughed softly. "You humans have a knack for survival and for surprising others. That is why I value you, not for appearances, but for your mind and your heart." Jace felt a rush of pride in something more, something complicated and new. Pretending to be a husband had turned into protecting lives, solving crises, and even earning admiration from someone he deeply respected. That night, Jace stood by the window of his quarters, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of danger, beauty, and endless possibilities. He realized that humans were more than just survivors. They were thinkers, problem solvers, and courageous hearts capable of changing events on a galactic scale. Lyra's words echoed in his mind. "The line between act and reality can blur." Jace smiled faintly. Perhaps that was not a warning but a promise. Adventure, intrigue, and maybe even something deeper awaited. Pretending to be a husband was no longer simple. It had become a journey of courage, intellect, and unexpected emotion. And somewhere deep in the palace, Lyra watched him quietly, sensing the human's growth, resilience, and the spark that made him truly remarkable. The summit had tested them both, but it had also shown something extraordinary. When humans and aliens worked together, they could overcome even the most impossible challenges. The galaxy was watching, but Jace was ready. Tomorrow, new complications would arise, but he now knew one thing for certain. Humans were capable of far more than anyone realized. And together with Lyra, he could face whatever came next. The morning after the summit, Jace awoke to the soft glow of the Andari Palace. The events of the previous day still swirled in his mind. The sabotage, the crisis, and the delicate diplomacy he had helped navigate. Though the summit had ended successfully, a sense of unease lingered. The palace, beautiful and serene as it appeared, held secrets and dangers that humans rarely encountered. Jace dressed quickly and met Lyra in the grand hall. She looked composed as ever, her silver hair flowing in the soft light, her violet eyes sharp and discerning. "Good morning, human," she said. "Rest well?" Jace nodded. "As well as I could, considering everything that happened yesterday." Lyra's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "Yesterday proved your value, Jace, but today the real challenge begins." Political factions within the palace have started moving their pieces. Some see the summit's events as an opportunity. "You must remain vigilant." Jace swallowed. "So, more scheming?" "Exactly," Lyra said. "But you will not face it alone. Watch, listen, and act when necessary. You humans have an advantage. Your unpredictability can be used to our favor." Their first stop was the palace council chamber. Advisors, ministers, and officials from across the Dominion gathered, discussing treaties, trade agreements, and intelligence reports. As Lyra took her seat, Jace followed, maintaining the posture and demeanor of a consort. His presence was meant to signal stability, yet he felt the subtle undercurrents of tension among the council members. He noticed a pattern almost immediately. Two advisors standing near the back exchanged glances that seemed more than professional. One made subtle hand gestures barely noticeable to anyone else. Jace leaned slightly toward Lyra. "Those two," he whispered, "they're coordinating something. It might be harmless, but it could also be the start of another plot." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Good observation, keep watching." Hours passed, filled with formal discussions and ceremonial protocols, yet Jace's mind remained alert. He observed the small signs of manipulation, an advisor attempting to steer a vote, a minister spreading subtle rumors, and even the use of palace security to influence opinions. During a break, Lyra approached him quietly. "You are learning quickly. Not just protocol, but the subtleties of power. Most consorts fail to notice half of this." Jace shrugged. "I guess humans have to pay attention, otherwise we get eaten figuratively." Lyra chuckled softly. "Your humor is unusual for a consort, but it makes you unpredictable. And that can be an asset." As they returned to the council chamber, an urgent message arrived. A covert communication from the Palace Intelligence Network indicated that the Sarvani delegation had not left the station as expected. Instead, they had infiltrated a restricted area containing sensitive summit data. Lyra's expression hardened. "It seems yesterday was only the beginning. We must act swiftly. Human, will you follow me?" Jace nodded. "Lead the way." The corridors were quiet, lined with softly glowing walls and floating lights. They moved quickly but silently, avoiding cameras and patrols. Jace relied on his instincts, honed during the summit crisis, to anticipate potential threats and find the safest paths. When they reached the restricted area, they found the Sarvani delegates attempting to access a secure terminal. Lyra stepped forward, calm but commanding. "Halt! You have no authorization here." The lead Sarvani ambassador turned, a sly smile on his face. "Princess Lyra, what a surprise, and you've brought your human consort. How quaint." Jace stepped slightly in front of Lyra. "Step away from the terminal, now," the ambassador laughed. "And if we refuse," Lyra's eyes glimmered, "then you will be contained." Jace quickly assessed the situation. The terminal was shielded by energy barriers, but there were nearby support panels he could manipulate. With careful coordination, he pressed the correct sequence of buttons, redirecting a low-voltage energy pulse toward the intruders. The barriers temporarily stunned them, giving Lyra the opportunity to secure the area with her energy staff. Within moments, the Sarvani delegation was detained, their plans thwarted. Lyra looked at Jace with a mixture of respect and astonishment. "Your quick thinking saved the palace and possibly the Dominion. Humans truly are remarkable." Jace shrugged, feeling a mix of pride and relief. "Just trying to keep up." Later, in the privacy of her chambers, Lyra studied him closely. "You are more than a consort, Jace. You are clever, brave, and reliable, perhaps more reliable than many of my own advisors." Jace felt a warmth in his chest. "I didn't expect this job to be this important or to feel like I belong." Lyra's expression softened. "You do belong. But understand this, our lives, our people, even our future are intertwined now. You are part of something bigger than yourself, and you must be prepared for consequences, both political and personal." Jace nodded. "I understand, and I'll do my best." The following days brought even more complications. A faction of nobles opposed to Lyra's policies began spreading rumors about the human consort, suggesting he was manipulating her decisions. Some advisors whispered concerns to the council, questioning Lyra's judgment. Jace realized that appearances were as important as actions. He had to maintain composure, appear confident, and support Lyra while subtly countering false narratives. Humans were often underestimated, and he could use that to their advantage. During a private training session in the palace gardens, Lyra spoke candidly. "You have handled diplomacy, crisis, and sabotage admirably, but the biggest challenge is perception. Some will try to turn the people against you or against me. You must be careful." Jace listened intently. "So it's not just about solving problems, it's about understanding people, predicting behavior, and staying 2 steps ahead." "Exactly," Lyra said. "And you humans, you can do that in ways that others cannot. Your adaptability, your unpredictability, it is a strength few recognize." Jace smiled faintly. "I guess I'm glad my quirks are useful." Lyra tilted her head, her eyes thoughtful. "Not quirks, human skills, and perhaps more than that. There is something about you that draws attention, not just from me, but from others. You must be aware." Jace's heart skipped a beat. He had noticed curious glances from palace staff, from some dignitaries, and even from Lyra herself. He wasn't sure if he was flattered, nervous, or both. The next evening, a formal banquet was held in honor of the Dominion's success at the summit. Delegates from multiple species attended, and the atmosphere was a delicate mix of celebration and political tension. Jace walked beside Lyra, maintaining perfect posture, his movements polished by days of training. Throughout the banquet, he observed subtle exchanges, Notes slipped between advisors, whispered signals, and carefully staged gestures. Using his human intuition, he anticipated potential conflicts, redirecting conversations, and subtly guiding Lyra's interactions to ensure smooth outcomes. At one point, a rival noble approached with a thinly veiled challenge. "Princess Lyra, your human companion seems unusual. Are you certain you can trust him?" Lyra's eyes flashed with a mixture of amusement and warning. "He has proven his worth, more than you might realize." Jace smiled faintly, realizing that his presence had not only symbolic value but also practical impact. His reputation as a clever, brave, and reliable human consort was spreading quietly throughout the palace. After the banquet, Lyra led Jace to the palace balcony, overlooking the glowing city. The twin moons cast silver light across the buildings, reflecting off the water below. "You have changed, human," Lyra said softly. "In just a few days, you have gone from an outsider to someone indispensable. You have not only saved lives and prevented sabotage, but also earned the respect of many." Jace leaned on the railing, feeling a mix of exhaustion and pride. "I didn't expect any of this. I thought I'd just pretend to be a husband and maybe make it through the summit without embarrassing myself." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "And yet, you have done far more than that. Humans have a remarkable ability to rise to challenges. Perhaps that is why I find you fascinating." Jace felt a rush of emotion, pride, relief, and something more complicated. Pretending to be a husband had started as a simple job. Now it had become a journey of trust, courage, and unexpected bonds. As the night deepened, Jace realized that the palace was full of dangers, intrigue, and unseen threats. Yet he also understood that humans had qualities that others often overlooked: adaptability, ingenuity, and the courage to act when it mattered most. And for the first time, he felt that being human was not a limitation, but a strength that could change the course of events on a galactic scale. Lyra placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Rest well, human. Tomorrow brings new challenges, but remember this: you are not alone. And together we can face whatever comes next." Jace nodded, feeling a sense of belonging he had never known. Pretending to be a husband had become something far more meaningful. It was about partnership, trust, and perhaps something deeper. As he watched the twin moons reflect in the palace gardens below, Jace whispered to himself, "I never thought a job could be this real, but somehow it is. And somehow I think I'm ready for whatever comes next." The days following the summit passed quickly, yet the palace remained a hive of tension. Jace moved through the corridors with confidence now, his every step deliberate, his senses alert. The earlier sabotage attempts had taught him that danger often came in unexpected forms, not just through technology or diplomacy, but through ambition, envy, and fear. Lyra noticed his change immediately. "You have grown," she said one morning as they walked through the palace gardens. The floating flowers shimmered in the soft light, petals drifting lazily in the artificial breeze. "You are no longer just pretending to be a husband. You are proving yourself as my partner in every way that matters." Jace smiled. "I think humans are better at this than we give ourselves credit for," she laughed softly. "That may be true, but do not forget, the game is not over. There are still those who would see the Dominion weakened, and they may try to manipulate us using what they know about you or me." Jace's expression hardened. "Then we'll be ready, together." Their first test came sooner than expected. A message arrived from one of the rival noble factions, inviting Lyra to a private negotiation in one of the palace's secure chambers. The message implied that the faction had information that could threaten the Dominion's stability. Lyra turned to Jace. "This could be a trap. I will need your judgment. Can I trust you to help me navigate it?" Jace nodded. "Always, let's go." They entered the chamber cautiously. The room was sparsely furnished, with only a central table and 2 chairs. Lyra gestured for Jace to sit beside her. Moments later, the faction's representative entered, a tall, slender alien with sharp eyes and a confident air. "Princess Lyra," the alien began, "I bring urgent matters that require your attention, but perhaps your human companion should listen as well. He seems perceptive." Jace kept his expression neutral. He had learned that even a smile or a twitch could give away too much. The representative laid out a scenario: claims of hidden dissent among Lyra's advisors, potential sabotage of future treaties, and rumors of human involvement in palace intrigues. Jace listened carefully, noting inconsistencies. Some statements were exaggerated, others logically flawed. His human intuition told him this was an attempt to unsettle Lyra, to sow doubt and tension between her and her allies. When the representative paused for a reaction, Jace leaned forward. "These claims are suspicious," he said calmly. "They rely on fear and assumption rather than evidence. If you are attempting to manipulate the princess, it will not work. The truth is observable, verifiable, and logical. Suggesting otherwise only weakens your argument." Lyra's eyes gleamed with approval. "Well said. Human logic and reasoning have never failed me. Continue." The representative shifted uneasily, realizing his subtle manipulation had been detected. Lyra leaned slightly toward Jace, her voice low. "Your insight is invaluable. I trust your judgment more than any of these nobles would expect." Jace felt a mixture of pride and warmth. He had started as a pretender, a mere symbol. Now he was a partner, trusted, respected, and capable of influencing events at the highest level. The remainder of the day involved delicate negotiations, where Jace's observations and quick thinking helped Lyra navigate tricky questions, detect hidden agendas, and maintain her authority. Each time, the human consort's perspective offered clarity that alien advisors often missed. That evening, after the palace had quieted, Lyra and Jace walked in the gardens, floating petals brushing past them. The city lights shimmered below like distant stars, a reminder of the vast galaxy beyond their palace walls. "You have changed everything, Jace," Lyra said softly. "Not only in how others see you, but in how I see both of us. You are no longer just a placeholder. You are indispensable." Jace looked at her, feeling something he could not entirely explain. Pretending to be a husband had begun as a simple job. Now it had become real, not just in responsibility and trust, but in connection. "Lyra, I never expected this. I never thought I'd feel like I belong somewhere like this." Her gaze softened. "You do belong, and more than that, you have shown me that humans can rise to challenges, not with sheer power alone, but with creativity, courage, and heart. You are remarkable." For a moment they stood in silence, the distance between them both physical and emotional, yet strangely close. Jace felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of pride, admiration, and something deeper, something that went beyond politics or duty. The following day, an emergency alert sounded. A small fleet of unknown ships had been detected near the Dominion's outer borders. Their intentions were unclear, but their movements were aggressive. The palace immediately went into a state of heightened alert. Lyra turned to Jace. "This is your moment, human. I trust your instincts. Help me plan our response." Jace studied the situation carefully. He analyzed the fleet's trajectory, speed, and potential capabilities. "They are likely scouting, testing defenses. But if we show confidence and coordination, we can force them to retreat without firing a single shot." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Explain." Jace laid out a simple but effective plan. Coordinated signals, strategic deployments, and a visible show of readiness would demonstrate strength without provoking conflict. Humans excelled at improvisation, he explained, and sometimes subtle moves were more effective than overt aggression. Lyra listened intently. "Your plan, it works, and it reflects a human advantage I have come to respect, quick thinking and adaptability." Together, they oversaw the execution of the strategy. The fleet observed the Dominion's readiness and, after careful calculation, withdrew without incident. The palace remained secure, the galaxy none the wiser. That night, the weight of responsibility lifted slightly, and Lyra led Jace to the palace balcony once more. "You have proven yourself in ways I never imagined. You are not just my consort, Jace. You are my partner in the truest sense." Jace felt his heart race. "Lyra, I didn't expect to feel this way, but I care for you, not because I have to or because of this role, but because I do." Lyra's violet eyes softened, and she reached for his hand. "And I for you. What began as a pretense has grown into something real, something neither of us anticipated." The moment was quiet, yet charged with unspoken understanding. Pretending to be a husband had ended. What they felt now was genuine. They had faced political intrigue, sabotage, and the challenges of interstellar diplomacy together, and through it all, trust, respect, and affection had grown. The days that followed allowed for a new rhythm. Jace continued to act as Lyra's consort, but their partnership had shifted from role-playing to true collaboration. He offered advice, solved problems, and even began influencing palace decisions, not as a human outsider, but as someone integral to the Dominion's success. One afternoon, Lyra brought him to a quiet observatory filled with ancient star maps and holographic projections. "I want to show you something," she said. "A future not just for the Dominion, but for humans in the galaxy." Jace leaned in, fascinated. She pointed to uncharted systems, trade routes, and potential alliances. "Humans can help shape this future," she explained. "Your presence, your ideas, and your courage prove that humanity has a place among the stars." Jace felt a surge of pride. I never thought humans could have this impact, but now I see we can." Lyra smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, and you have shown me that the line between roles and reality can blur in wonderful ways. You have not only been my consort, Jace, but also my friend, my ally, and my partner." As they stood together, gazing at the endless expanse of stars, Jace realized how far he had come. From a human hired to pretend as a husband, he had grown into someone indispensable, respected, and trusted, not just by Lyra, but by the galaxy itself. He felt a profound sense of belonging, courage, and possibility. Humans were adaptable, creative, and brave, capable of facing dangers, solving problems, and forming bonds that transcended species, politics, and expectation. And somewhere deep within, Jace knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy held countless challenges, adventures, and opportunities. But with Lyra by his side, and with the strengths humans possessed, he was ready to face whatever came next. As the twin moons rose over the palace, casting silver light across the gardens below, Jace took a deep breath. Pretending to be a husband had ended, but life, partnership, and adventure were just beginning. Together they would face the future, one challenge, one triumph, and one shared moment at a time.